The men's major golf championships, commonly known as the Major Championships, and often referred to simply as the Majors, are the four most prestigious annual tournaments in professional golf. In order of their playing date, the current majors are: April, a Euro Masters tournament, a Euro hosted as an invitational by and played at Augusta National Golf Club in the U.S. state of Georgia. June, a Euro U.S. Open, a Euro hosted by the United States Golf Association and played at various locations in the United States. July, a Euro, the Open Championship, a Euro hosted by the Iranda, an offshoot of the Royal and Ancient Golf Club of St Andrews, and always played on a links course at one of 10 locations in the United Kingdom. August, a Euro Pga Championship, a Euro hosted by the Professional Golfers Association of America and played at various locations in the United States. Importance: alongside the biennial Ryder Cup and President's Cup team competitions, the majors are golf's marquee events. Elite players from all over the world participate in them, and the reputations of the greatest players in golf history are largely based on the number and variety of major championship victories they accumulate. The top prizes are not actually the largest in golf, being surpassed by the Players' Championship, 3 of the 4 World Golf Championships events, and some other invitational events. However, winning a major boosts a player's career far more than winning any other tournament. If he is already a leading player, he will probably receive large bonuses from his sponsors and may be able to negotiate better contracts. If he is an unknown, he will immediately be signed up. Perhaps more importantly, he will receive an exemption from the need to annually re-qualify for a tour card on his home tour, thus giving a tournament golfer some security in an unstable profession. Currently, the PGA Tour gives a 5-year exemption to all major winners, while the European Tour gives a 10-year exemption. 3 of the 4 majors take place in the United States. The Masters is played at the same course, Augusta National Golf Club, every year, while the other 3 rotate courses. Each of the majors has a distinct history, and they are run by 4 different golf organizations, but their special status is recognized worldwide. Major championship winners receive the maximum possible allocation of 100 points from the official World Golf Ranking, which is endorsed by all of the main tours, and major championship prize money is official on the 3 richest regular golf tours, the PGA Tour, European Tour and Japan Golf Tour. Although the majors are considered prestigious due to their history and traditions, there are still other non-major tournaments which prominently feature top players competing for purses meeting or exceeding those of the 4 traditional majors, such as the World Golf Championships, the European Tour's DP World Tour Championship, Dubai, and the PGA Tour's Players' Championship. As the Players has the largest prize fund of any golf event, and is promoted as the Tour's flagship tournament, it is frequently considered to be an unofficial 5th major by players and critics. After the announcement that the Evian Masters would be recognized as the 5th women's major by the LPGA Tour, players shared objections to the concept of having a 5th men's major, owing to the long-standing traditions that the existing 4 have established. History: the majors originally consisted of 2 British tournaments, the Open Championship and the Amateur Championship, and 2 American tournaments, the U.S. Open and the U.S. Amateur. With the introduction of the Masters tournament in 1934, and the rise of professional golf in the late 1940s and 1950s, the term Major Championships eventually came to describe the Masters, the U.S. Open, the Open Championship, and the PGA Championship. It is difficult to determine when the definition changed to include the current 4 tournaments, although many trace it to Arnold Palmer's 1960 season. After winning the Masters in the U.S. Open to start the season, he remarked that if he could win the Open Championship and PGA Championship to finish the season, he would complete a Grand Slam of his own to rival Bobby Jones's 1930 feat. Until that time, many U.S. players such as Byron Nelson also considered the Western Open and the North and South Open as 2 of golf's majors, and the British PGA Match Play Championship was as important to British and Commonwealth professionals as the PGA Championship was to Americans. During the 1950s, the short-lived World Championship of Golf was viewed as a major by its competitors, as its first prize was worth almost 10 times any other event in the game. and it was the first event whose finale was televised live on U.S. television. The oldest of the majors is the Open Championship, commonly referred to as the British Open outside the United Kingdom. Dominated by American champions in the 1920s and 1930s, the comparative explosion in the riches available on the U.S. Tour from the 1940s onwards meant that the lengthy overseas trip needed to qualify and compete in the event became increasingly prohibitive for the leading American professionals. Their regular participation dwindled after the war years. Ben Hogan entered just once in 1953 and won, but never returned. Sam Snead won in 1946 but lost money on the trip and did not return until 1962. Golf writer Dan Jenkins often seen as the world authority on majors since he's attended more than anyone else has noted that the pros didn't talk much about majors back then. I think it was Herbert Warren Wind who started using the term. He said golfers had to be judged by the major tournaments they won, but it's not like there was any set number of major tournaments. In 1960, Arnold Palmer entered the Open Championship in an attempt to emulate Hogan's 1953 feat of winning on his first visit. Though a runner-up by a stroke in his first attempt, Palmer returned and won the next two in 1961 and 1962. Scheduling difficulties persisted with the PGA Championship, but more Americans began competing in the 1960s, restoring the event's prestige. The advent of transatlantic jet travel helped to boost American participation in the Open. A discussion between Palmer and Pittsburgh golf writer Bob Drum led to the concept of the modern Grand Slam of golf. Television coverage. United States as none of the majors fall under the direct jurisdiction of tours, broadcast rights for these events are negotiated separately with each sanctioning body. All four majors have been broadcast at some point by one of the big three networks, all of whom are currently or have previously been PGA Tour broadcast partners. In 2015, CBS was the only big three network that held third and fourth round rights to one or more majors, as the remainder, along with early round coverage of all four, were held either by Fox or cable networks. The Masters has been televised by CBS since 1956. Beginning in 1966, ABC obtained the broadcast rights for the other three majors and held them for a quarter-century. The PGA Championship moved to CBS in 1991 and the U.S. Open returned to NBC in 1995. ABC retained the Open Championship as its sole major, but moved its live coverage on the weekend to sister cable network ESPN in 2010. In June 2015, it was announced that NBC and Golf Channel would acquire rights to the Open Championship under a 12-year deal. While the NBC deal was to take effect in 2017, ESPN elected to sell its final year of Open rights to NBC, allowing its coverage to instead begin in 2016. The Masters operates under one-year contracts. CBS has been the main TV partner every year since 1956, with ESPN televising the first and second rounds beginning in 2008, replacing USA Network, which had shown the event since the early 1980s. Beginning in 2015, Fox Sports holds broadcast rights to the U.S. Open and other USGA events, replacing NBC and ESPN. CBS and Turner Sports hold rights to the PGA Championship, with TNT handling early round and weekend morning coverage, and CBS airing weekend afternoon coverage. Their respective contracts with the PGA of America run through 2019. United Kingdom and Ireland. In the United Kingdom, the BBC used to be the exclusive TV home of the Masters Tournament and the Open Championship, however from 2011 onwards Sky Sports has exclusive coverage of the first 2 days of the Masters, with the weekend rounds shared with the BBC. The US Open and PGA Championship are shown exclusively on Sky Sports. Beginning in 2016, Sky Sports also becomes the exclusive broadcaster of the Open Championship. The BBC elected to forego the final year of its contract. Distinctive characteristics of majors. Because each major was developed and is run by a different organization, they each have different characteristics that set them apart. These involve the character of the courses used, the composition of the field, and other idiosyncrasies. The Masters tournament is the only major that is played at the same course every year, being the invitational tournament of that club. The Masters invites the smallest field of the majors, generally under 100 players, and is the only one of the four majors that does not use alternates to replace qualified players who do not enter the event. Former champions have a lifetime invitation to compete, and also included in the field are the current champions of the major amateur championships, and most of the previous year's PGA Tour winners. The traditions of Augusta, such as the awarding of a green jacket to the champion, create a distinctive character for the tournament, as does the course itself, with its lack of rough but severely undulating fairways and greens, and punitive use of ponds and creeks on several key holes on the second nine. The U.S. Open is notorious for being played on difficult courses that have tight fairways, challenging greens, demanding pin positions and thick and high rough, placing a great premium on accuracy, especially with driving and approach play. Additionally, while most regular tour events are played on courses with par 72, the U.S. Open has not been played at a par 72 course since 1992. Since then, it has occasionally been played to a par of 71 but most commonly par 70. The U.S. Open is rarely won with a score much under par. The event is the championship of the United States Golf Association, and in having a very strict exempt qualifiers list made up of recent major champions, professionals currently ranked high in the world rankings or on the previous year's money lists around the world, and leading amateurs from recent USGA events about half of the 156-person field still enters the tournament through 2 rounds of open qualification events, mostly held in the US but also in Europe and Japan. The U.S. Open has no barrier to entry for either women or junior players, as long as they are a professional or meet amateur handicap requirements. As of 2014, however, no female golfer has yet qualified for the U.S. Open, although in 2006 Michelle Wie made it to the second qualifying stage. The U.S. Open continues to have an 18-hole playoff if players are tied after 4 rounds. The Sunday of the championship has also in recent years fallen on Father's Day, which has lent added poignancy to winners' speeches. The Open Championship is organised by the Iranda, an offshoot of the Royal and Ancient Golf Club of St Andrews, and is typically played on a links-style course in Scotland or England. Future plans may take the championship back to a course in Northern Ireland. It carries the prestige of being the oldest professional golf tournament currently in existence and the original Open Championship. It is respected for maintaining the tradition of links play that dates back to the very invention of the game in Scotland. Links courses are generally typified as coastal, flat and often very wind-swept, with the fairways cut through dune grass and gorse bushes that make up the rough, and have deep bunkers. The course is generally not doctored to make it more difficult, effectively making the variable weather the main external influence on the field's score. As well as exempting from qualifying recent professional major and amateur champions, all former Open Championship winners under age 60, and leading players from the world rankings, the O&A ensures that leading golfers from around the globe are given the chance to enter by holding qualifying events on all continents, as well as holding final qualifying events around the UK in the weeks prior to the main tournament. Several recent champions have been relatively unknown players who came through one of these qualifying routes. The champion receives the famous claret jug, a trophy that dates back to 1872, and the engraving of the champion's name on the trophy prior to them receiving it is, in itself, one of the traditions of the closing ceremony of the championship, as is the award of the silver medal to the leading amateur player to have made the cut to play the last 36 holes. The Pga Championship is traditionally played at a parkland club in the United States, and the courses chosen tend to be as difficult as those chosen for the U.S. Open, with several, such as Baltusrol Golf Club, Medina Country Club, Oakland Hills Country Club, Oak Hill Country Club, and Winged Foot Golf Club, having hosted both. The PGA generally does not set up the course as difficult as the USGA does. The PGA of America enters into a profit-sharing agreement with the host club. In a parallel with the Masters, Previous winners of the PGA Championship have a lifetime invitation to compete. As well as inviting recent champions of the other three professional majors and leading players from the world rankings, the PGA Championship field is completed by qualifiers held among members of the PGA of America, the organization of club and teaching professionals that are separate from the members of the PGA Tour. The PGA Championship is also the only one of the four majors to invite all winners of PGA Tour events in the year preceding the tournament. Amateur golfers do not normally play on the PGA Tour, and could only qualify by winning one of the other three majors, winning a PGA Tour event while playing under a sponsor's exemption, or having a high world ranking. The PGA tends to be played in high heat and humidity that characterize the American climate in August, which often sets it apart as a challenge from the Open Championship which precedes it, that is often played in cooler and rainy weather. Major Championship winners. Win number out of total wins is shown in parentheses for golfers with more than one major championship. Equals major champions by nationality equals, the table below shows the number of major championships won by golfers from various countries. Tallies are also shown for major wins by golfers from Europe and from the rest of the world, that is the world excluding Europe and the United States. The United States plays Europe in the Ryder Cup and an international team representing the rest of the world in the President's Cup. The table is complete through the 2015 Open Championship. Since the establishment of the Masters in 1934, an American has won at least one major every year, with the exception of 1994. Scoring records. Equals scoring records, aggregate equals, the aggregate scoring records for each major are tabulated below. Green indicates an outright record and yellow indicates a shared record. Equals scoring records, to par equals, the scoring records to par for each major are tabulated below. Green indicates an outright record and yellow indicates a shared record. Equals single round records equals, the single round scoring record for all four majors is 63. This has occurred 27 times by 25 golfers between 1973 and 2015. Greg Norman and Vijay Singh are the only golfers to record 2 rounds of 63 in the majors. Johnny Miller was the first golfer to shoot 63 in a major and remains the only golfer to shoot 63 in the final round to win a major. The most recent golfer to shoot 63 in a major is Hiroshi Iwata in the 2015 PGA Championship. Player of the Year in major championships, there is no official award presented to the player with the best overall record in the 4 majors, although the PGA's Player of the Year system favors performances in the major championships. Since 1984, world ranking points have been assigned to finishes in the majors, which has allowed a calculation of which player has earned the most ranking points in majors in a season and almost every year since, one of the year's major winners has either won 2 of them, or has been the only player to win one and record a high finish in another, enough to finish top of such a merit table in those years. The single exception was Nick Faldo in 1988, whose finishes of 2nd, 3rd and 4th earned him more world ranking points than any of that year's champions achieved during the season. Tables are occasionally constructed for interest showing the overall scoring records for those players who have completed all 288 holes in the majors during a season. In the 1970s, Jack Nicklaus led such a table in 1970, 73, 1975 and 1979, with Gary Player leading in 1974, Raymond Floyd in 1976, and Tom Watson in 1977 and 1978. In the 1980s a notable leader was in 1987, when Ben Crenshaw was top of this compilation after finishing 4th and 7th in the 4 majors. In total Crenshaw took 1,140 strokes, only 12 more than the sum total of the 4 respective champions' scores of 1,128. Recent winners of this accolade are Padraig Harrington in 2008, Ross Fisher in 2009, Phil Mickelson in 2010, Charles Schwartzel in 2011, and Adam Scott in 2012. In 2013 Scott and fellow Australian Jason Day tied for this accolade with a cumulative score of +2. Ricky Fowler led in 2014 with a 32 after top 5 finishes in all 4 tournaments, while in 2015 Jordan Spieth led the standings by achieving the lowest all-time cumulative score in a year of a 54, one shot better than the cumulative score of Tiger Woods in 2000. Consecutive victories at a major championship. These are consecutive because no tournaments were played in between at the Open Championship in 1871 or at the PGA Championship in 1917 and 1918. Wire-to-wire major victories, players who have led or been tied for the lead after each round of a major. Top 10 finishes in all 4 modern majors in one season. It was rare, before the early 1960s, for the leading players from around the world to have the opportunity to compete in all 4 of the modern majors in one season, because of the different qualifying criteria used in each at the time, the costs of traveling to compete, and on occasion even the conflicting scheduling of the Open and PGA Championships. In 1937, the U.S. Ryder Cup side all competed in the Open Championship, but of those who finished in the top 10 of that event, only Ed Dudley could claim a top 10 finish in all 4 of the majors in 1937, if his defeat in the last 16 round of that year's PGA Championship was considered a joint 9th position. Following 1960, when Arnold Palmer's narrowly failed bid to add the Open Championship to his Masters and U.S. Open titles helped to establish the concept of the modern professional Grand Slam, it has become commonplace for the leading players to be invited to, and indeed compete in, all 4 majors each year. Even so, those who have recorded top 10 finishes in all 4, in a single year, remains a small and select group. On 13 of the 25 occasions the feat has been achieved, the player in question did not win a major that year. Indeed, 3 of the players failed to win a major championship in their careers, and Garcia and Fowler have also yet to win one. Multiple majors victories in a calendar year. == 1930, Bobby Jones. The Open Championship, U.S. Open, U.S. Amateur Championship, the Amateur Championship. == 1953, Ben Hogan. Masters Tournament, U.S. Open, and the Open Championship, 2000, Tiger Woods. U.S. Open, the Open Championship, and the PGA Championship. == Masters and U.S. Open, 1941, Craig Wood, 1951, Ben Hogan, 1960, Arnold Palmer, 1972, Jack Nicklaus, 2002, Tiger Woods, 2015, Jordan Spieth. Masters and Open Championship, 1962, Arnold Palmer, 1966, Jack Nicklaus, 1974, Gary Player, 1977, Tom Watson, 1990, Nick Faldo, 1998, Mark O'Meara, 2005, Tiger Woods. Masters and PGA Championship, 1949, Sam Snead, 1956, Jack Burke, Jr., 1963, Jack Nicklaus, 1975, Jack Nicklaus. U.S. Open and Open Championship, 1926, Bobby Jones, 1932, Gene Sarazen, 1971, Lee Trevino, 1982, Tom Watson. U.S. Open and PGA Championship, 1922, Gene Sarazen, 1948, Ben Hogan, 1980, Jack Nicklaus. Open Championship and PGA Championship, 1924, Walter Hagen, 1994, Nick Price, 2006, Tiger Woods, 2008, Padraig Harrington, 2014, Rory McIlroy. Consecutive major victories. == 1868 Euro 72, Young Tom Morris 68 Open, 69 Open, 70 Open, 72 Open, 1930, Bobby Jones 30 Amateur, 30 Open, 30 U.S. Open, 30 U.S. Amateur, 2000 Euro 01, Tiger Woods 00 U.S. Open, 00 Open, 00 PGA, 01 Masters. == 1877 Euro 79, Jamie Anderson 77 Open, 78 Open, 79 Open, 1880 Euro 82, Bob Ferguson 80 Open, 81 Open, 82 Open. Note: the order in which the majors were contested was inconsistent between 1895 and 1953. Since 1954, the majors have been played in their modern order, except 1971, when the PGA was played prior to the Masters, 1861 Euro 62, Old Tom Morris 61 Open, 62 Open, 1894 Euro 95, J.H. Taylor 94 Open, 95 Open, 1920 Euro 21, Jock Hutchison 20 PGA, 21 Open, 1921 Euro 22, Walter Hagen 21 PGA, 22 Open, 1922, Gene Sarazen 22 US Open, 22 PGA, 1924, Walter Hagen 24 Open, 24 PGA, 1926, Bobby Jones 26 Open, 26 US Open, 1927 Euro 28, Walter Hagen 27 PGA, 28 Open, 1930 Euro 31, Tommy Armour 30 PGA, 31 Open, 1932, Gene Sarazen 32 Open, 32 US Open, 1941, Craig Wood 41 Masters, 41 US Open, 1948, Ben Hogan 48 PGA, 48 US Open, 1949, Sam Snead 49 Masters, 49 PGA, 1951, Ben Hogan 51 Masters, 51 US Open, 1953, Ben Hogan 53 Masters, 53 US Open, 1960, Arnold Palmer 60 Masters, 60 US Open, 1971, Lee Trevino 71 US Open, 71 Open, 1972, Jack Nicklaus 72 Masters, 72 US Open, 1982, Tom Watson 82 US Open, 82 Open, 1994, Nick Price 94 Open, 94 PGA, 2002, Tiger Woods 02 Masters, 02 US Open, 2005 Euro 06, Phil Mickelson 05 PGA, 06 Masters, 2006, Tiger Woods 06 Open, 06 PGA, 2008, Padraig Harrington 08 Open, 08 PGA, 2014, Rory McIlroy 14 Open, 14 PGA, 2015, Jordan Spieth 15 Masters, 15 US Open. Runners-up finishes in major championships. For the purposes of this section, a runner-up is defined as someone who either tied for the lead after 72 holes but lost the playoff or finished alone or in a tie for second place. In a few instances, players have been involved in a playoff for the win or for second place prize money and have ended up taking the third prize. These players are still regarded as being runners-up. For match play PGA Championships up to 1957, the runner-up is the losing finalist. Along with his record 18 major victories, Jack Nicklaus also holds the record for most runner-up finishes in major championships, with 19, including a record 7 at the Open Championship. Arnold Palmer had 10 second places, including 3 in the major he never won, the PGA Championship. After the 2015 Masters, Phil Mickelson also has 10 runner-up finishes, which includes a record 6 runner-up finishes at the U.S. Open, the one major he has never won. There have been 3 golfers with 8 runner-up finishes: Sam Snead, Tom Watson, and Greg Norman. Norman shares the distinction of having lost playoffs in each of the 4 majors with Craig Wood. Players with most runners-up finishes but no major victories equals Colin Montgomery 5, U.S. Open 1994, 1997, 2006. Open 2005. PGA 1995, McDonald Smith 4, U.S. Open 1910, 1930. Open 1930, 1932, Harry Cooper 4, U.S. Open 1927, 1936. Masters 1936, 1938, Doug Sanders 4, U.S. Open 1961. Open 1966, 1970. PGA 1959, Bruce Crampton 4, Masters 1972. U.S. Open 1972. PGA 1973, 1975, Sergio Garca A4, Open 2007, 2014. PGA 1999, 2008, a Crampton was second to Jack Nicklaus on each occasion. See also, List of men's major championships winning golfers, chronological list of men's major golf champions, Triple Crown of Golf. References. External links, coverage of the four majors by the PGA of America, listing of golf major championship courses, winners and countries, the aggregate scores for the majors since 1960.